What is going on, everybody? Today I'll be doing my 2020 NFL mock draft, all 7 rounds 2.0. So I did my first 7-round mock draft last week, and you guys absolutely did amazing on that one. So thank you guys so much. If you have not checked that one out, link will be down in the description below. Please go show that one some love. Please like this 7-round mock draft and subscribe for more mock drafts like these every single week. This mock draft took me a lot of time and effort, so the least you could do is like and subscribe. Comment whether you like the picks or not. I always love talking about the picks, and without further ado, let's get right on into the video. So the first team that I'll be doing is the San Francisco 49ers. With the 31st pick, they select Jeff Gladney. Their cornerback position is very slim, and I think that Jeff Gladney can fill a very big hole, and he's very good at coverage. I think he'll be perfect on the San Francisco team that really needs a cornerback. Tyler Johnson, wide receiver, very solid wide receiver who I think could be a very good franchise wide receiver. Jordan Fuller to fill in a little bit of that depth in the safety position. Francis Bernard, a pretty solid linebacker. Darrell Williams, an interior offensive lineman. You can't go wrong with that in depth to that offensive line. And then Darius Anderson, just adding to that running back position. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Javon Kinlaw, very good interior defensive lineman. One of my favorite players in this year's draft. He's going to fill a very tight position in the interior defensive line, which Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't have very many of those players in that position. I think Javon Kinlaw is a very good run stopper who'd thrive on a team like Tampa Bay. Lucas Niang, a very solid franchise offensive tackle, I think will be perfect on this team in protecting Jameis Winston, who threw 30 interceptions, which means he just does not have enough time in the pocket. So he's going to have a big job there. Khalid Kareem, a very solid edge rusher. Nate Stanley, they're going to need a quarterback to back up Jameis Winston, who you never know with 30 interceptions. They could bench him for a solid quarterback like a Nate Stanley. Anthony McFarland, a really solid running back. Their running back position is not very solid at all. I think Anthony McFarland could add some depth to that position, maybe even fill in as the running back 1. And then Lamar Jackson, a very solid cornerback. The Dolphins, they have a ton of picks, very good rebuilding draft for them. Tua Tagovailoa, the injury still has question marks, but I still think he's very solid. A franchise QB who'd be amazing for this Dolphins team that does not have a QB. AJ Epineza falling to pick 18. I think it's perfect for this Dolphins team. I think AJ Epineza is going to thrive on a team like the Dolphins with their defensive scheme. Josh Jones, offensive tackle, been climbing up my drafts for a while now. I think he's perfect because the Dolphins need an offensive tackle. They need a lot of positions, but I think offensive tackle is a very important position. Interior offensive lineman, Cesar Ruiz, very solid player there. He could even be a first-round pick. Jonathan Taylor, a really good running back who will be the running back 1 when he comes in. Kyle Duggar, a good safety. Their safety position is slim. Trajan Bandy, a very solid cornerback in college. Michael Pittman Jr., USC wide receiver. He is very good. He was nominated for the Bolitnikoff Award. He's very solid there. And Cheyenne O'Grady, adding depth to that tight end position. Jacob Phillips, linebacker. And then 2 wide receivers at the end of the draft, Isaiah Hodgins and Benjamin Victor. Then with the 3rd pick, Jeffrey Okudah for the Lions. I still think that the Lions are going with Jeffrey Okudah, as much rumor as it has it about a quarterback or even Isaiah Simmons. They need cornerback position. Darius Slay is coming up on his last year of his contract. Jeffrey Okudah is a perfect lockdown back. I actually really like this Lions draft. Patrick Queen, linebacker. He is a very good linebacker who I think is going to be perfect on Matt Patricia's defensive scheme. Ashton Davis, a solid safety. Jabari Zuniga, edge rusher, very good edge rusher. Gabriel Davis, wide receiver. A solid wide receiver there. They need wide receiver options. Darrington Evans, running back. Their running back depth chart is not very solid, so they need a solid wide receiver, running back 2 behind Kerryon Johnson, Terrence Steele. Adding depth to that offensive tackle position, which needs depth. T. Higgins, wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. They need a wide receiver. I think T. Higgins would thrive with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Jonathan Greenard, a very, very solid edge rusher who I think at pick 60 is a perfect pick for Jonathan Greenard. Kayvon Wallace, a very solid safety pick. Kamal Martin, linebacker. Again, a solid linebacker choice to add. Just adding positional depth. Troy Pride, very good cornerback. And then Tyler Clark adding to that interior defensive lineman position. The Tennessee Titans with the 29th pick, Lloyd Cushenberry III. He's a very good center. Justin Matabuik, a very, very solid interior defensive lineman who I think is a little bit underrated, and I think will have a very solid combine. Bradley Anae, I've heard very good things about him. I think he's going to thrive in this Titans defensive scheme. Albert Akinwegbanam, tight end. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. It's a very long last name. Just that tight end position with Jonnu Smith, maybe could be a tight end too. Maybe even replace Jonnu Smith one day. Stanford Samuels III, a cornerback, adding to that cornerback position. Tyler Hutney, quarterback. Ryan Tannehill needs a backup quarterback. I think Tyler Huntley did okay in college. I think they'll come in to the NFL and be a pretty solid quarterback 2, maybe quarterback 3. And then Tremaine Arkram, offensive tackle. Again, adding depth to that offensive tackle position. There's nothing wrong with that. The Chicago Bears, Matt Hennessy. Very solid center. I think he'll be very good on this Bears team. Prince Tega Wangho. Again, these two picks are just adding to that offensive line and protecting Mitchell Trubisky. Prince Tega Wangho is a very solid offensive tackle. Jared Pickney, tight end. Their tight end position is very slim. So I think Jared Pickney's a very good tight end. Will be good on the Chicago Bears. Kendall Coleman, a pretty solid edge rusher. Reggie Floyd adding to that safety position. Then Steven Montez, quarterback. Going to be quarterback 2, maybe quarterback 3 for the Chicago Bears team because you never know with Mitchell Trubisky. And then Levante Taylor, a cornerback, adding to that cornerback position. The Cardinals, Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle. Very, very solid offensive tackle. I think he let up 0 sacks in college, which is very good. He's a reliable player. Just what the young Kyler Murray needs. He needs to be relaxed. I think Andrew Thomas is that perfect offensive tackle. Lets up no sacks. Just perfect for a young quarterback like a Kyler Murray. Jalen Reagor, wide receiver. I really like Jalen Reagor. He's very speedy. On the shorter side, but he just has great hands. I think he's perfect for Kyler Murray as an option. Christian Kirk's probably the only option because Larry Fitzgerald is getting old. So I think Jalen Reagor could add some depth to that wide receiver position. Marlon Davidson, interior defensive lineman, a very solid interior defensive lineman. Shane Lemieux, an interior offensive lineman, adding to that offensive line. Muhammad Berry, filling in their gaps at the linebacker. And then Trevis Gibson, maybe could develop in the league, and you never know with these edge rushers these days. The Eagles, Henry Ruggs III, wide receiver. I think he'll be perfect for this Eagles team. If he falls, he's very, very good. He's like a Tyreek Hill. He's quick. He's on the smaller side, but he's great in routes. I think he's perfect. He'll be great in deep ball situations, and Carson Wentz would love a player like a Henry Ruggs on their team. Noah Igbinoghene. I butchered that one again. I'm sorry. Cornerback, adding to that secondary, which is very unstable right now. Maybe adding a cornerback could help stabilize that secondary. Troy Dye, linebacker. Their linebacker position needs depth. Troy Dye hopefully could come in and be a very solid starting linebacker. Richie Grant, again, adding to that weak secondary. Michael Onwenu, interior offensive lineman, adding to that offensive line because you can't go wrong there. And then Michael DeVinci Jr., edge rusher. Again, going to hopefully learn in the NFL and then be a pretty solid edge rusher there. Green Bay Packers with the 30th pick, KJ Hamler, wide receiver. I've had a few people disagree with this pick, but here's my reasoning on it. They already have a player like a Devontae Adams who's a taller player, goes up and grabs balls. I think they need someone like a KJ Hamler. It's a speedier type, smaller type player. And just adding some variety to that wide receiver position would be great for Aaron Rodgers. Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle, could be a very solid offensive tackle in the league. Cole Kmet, a very solid tight end. Their tight end position's not solid at all. Jimmy Graham, we don't know what's going to happen with him. David Woodward, linebacker, could be a good replacement for Blake Martinez if he does go. Tommy Kramer, interior offensive lineman, adding to their offensive line, which needs a little bit of work. Benito Jones, interior defensive lineman. He's a very solid interior defensive lineman who I think could be very good on this Packers team. Patrick Taylor Jr. could be a running back 2 or 3. Jaron Bryant, a alright cornerback. And then Khalij Lipscomb, wide receiver. Just giving them another wide receiver option there. The Redskins, Chase Young, edge, obvious pick there. I don't see why they pass on him. Matthew Pert, offensive tackle. Their offensive line needs work, so hopefully Matthew Pert could be a franchise offensive tackle. Brian Edwards, a very solid wide receiver there. Their wide receiver options are not good at all, so Brian Edwards could add some depth to that position, be a wide receiver 2, or maybe even 1 someday. And then Cam Akers, very, very good running back. Fell a lot because running back is not a big need in this draft. I think he'll be perfect on this Redskins team because the Redskins really don't have a very good running back 1. So they need someone young like a Cam Akers. Reggie Robinson the second, cornerback, just adding to that cornerback position. And then Mitchell Wilcox, their tight end position, just adding there. The Vikings with the 25th pick, Damon Arnett, cornerback. Well, first off, I'd like to say I really like this Vikings draft. I think they really have a few really good players. Damon Arnett, cornerback, very good man-to-man coverage. Just a position of need is the cornerback. I think that that Damon Arnett will be perfect on this Vikings team. Raekwon Davis, a very, very good run stopper. Also very good at getting to the quarterback. Tyler Biadasz, interior offensive lineman. I think he's very solid. Could be a franchise center in the NFL. I think he's very solid on whatever team he's on. Hakeem Adeniji, very solid offensive tackle. Assessing that offensive tackle need. Juwan Jennings, wide receiver. They need a wide receiver 3 or 4. I think he could be a pretty solid wide receiver 3 or 4. And then TJ Brunson, you never know with these late picks what they could turn out to be, but linebacker is one of their needs. The Bengals, obviously Joe Burrow with the first pick. Hopefully help turn this Bengals team around, which has really been lacking for years now. Justin Jefferson hopefully could be the wide receiver 1 for Joe Burrow in the future. I think they could be a very good combination there. Tyler Boyd and Justin Jefferson, a 1-2 punch. Darrell Taylor, a very good edge rusher. I think he could be very good in the NFL and hopefully thrive and be a leader on this Bengals defense. Akeem Davis-Gather, linebacker, pretty solid linebacker. I've heard some good things about him. David Hamilton, an interior defensive lineman, a very big guy, good run stuffer. Justin Herron, offensive tackle. Their offensive line is not good. Protecting Joe Burrow is a priority. Justin Herron could hopefully come in and do that. And then Dane Jackson, cornerback position, another slim position there. The Chargers with the 6th pick, Justin Herbert, quarterback. I've always had the Chargers selecting Justin Herbert, so let's keep it that way. I think he's going to be a very, very good franchise QB. If I had to pick one quarterback that would have the best rookie season, I'm going to have to go with Justin Herbert on this one. I think he'll be phenomenal on this Chargers team. Austin Jackson, a very good offensive tackle. We're going to protect Justin Herbert. Cameron Dantzler, cornerback. I've heard a lot of good things about Cameron Dantzler. I think he'll be very good on this Chargers defense, which needs a little bit of help in that secondary. Damian Lewis, interior offensive lineman, adding to the offensive line. Zach Moss, they need a running back. Both their running backs are going into free agency. We don't know if they're going to re-sign one of them. But Zach Moss could be a good wide receiver, running back 2 maybe. Chase Claypool, some people love Claypool. I think he could be good on this Chargers team as a wide receiver 2 or 3. And then Michael Walker, linebacker, assessing that linebacker need. The Falcons, Clavon Chasen, edge. First word that comes to mind with Chasen is versatile. He's so versatile. Very good pick there. I really love the Falcons drafts. They just have the right picks. Neville Gallimore, interior defensive lineman. very good interior defensive lineman. I think he could thrive on a team like the Falcons, which needs help in that defensive line position. A.J. Terrell, a very good cornerback, very good in zone and man coverage. Ben Barch, offensive tackle, protecting Matt Ryan. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, could be a very good replacement for Devontae Freeman, who's getting up there. And then Joe Barchi Jr., assessing that linebacker need. And then David Dwell, safety. You never know with these late picks. Number 7, with the 7th pick, the Panthers, Derek Brown, interior defensive lineman. I really like Derek Brown, and in most drafts, I keep saying this, he'd be a top 4, top 5 pick. It's just that this draft's so quarterback needy. He falls to pick 7. Obviously perfect for this Panthers fan base, which really needs a player that could light this defense up after Luke Kuechly retired. They're going to need that player that brings a spark to this defense. I think Derek Brown could be that guy. Jacob Eason, quarterback. Pretty solid quarterback there. They're going to need a quarterback, obviously. I think he could be a very solid franchise quarterback if he just needs to impress in the combine. Bryce Hall, very solid cornerback. I think he'll be great on this Panthers team, which needs help in that secondary. Colin Johnson, they really don't have a main wide receiver one. So maybe just adding some depth to that wide receiver position. Antoine Brooks Jr., solid safety, and then Devoyne Taylor adding to that linebacker position, which needs a little bit of help. The Saints, Laviska Shenault Jr., wide receiver. I really like Laviska Shenault. I think he's definitely a first-round talent. Just going to take a lot of pressure off of Michael Thomas, who's received a boatload of passes. I think Laviska Shenault could be a very solid wide receiver, too, on this team. Nick Harris, interior offensive lineman. The offensive line needs a little bit of help, so Nick Harris could hopefully come in and be very solid on that offensive line. A.J. Green, cornerback, pretty solid cornerback there. Shaquille Quarterman, adding to that linebacker need. And then James Morgan. We don't know if Drew Brees is retiring or not. If he does retire, I'm obviously going to have a quarterback going earlier. But James Morgan, just assessing that backup quarterback need. The Bills with the 22nd pick, Yetur Gross-Matos, edge rusher. I've always had Yetur Gross-Matos going to the Bills. I just think this works out perfectly. A leader, very good at eating up turf and very good at getting to the quarterback. I just think he's what the Bills need with that pick. Donovan Peoples-Jones, a very solid wide receiver. Could be a wide receiver 1 or 2 on that team. Laurel Murchison, interior defensive lineman, very solid run stuffer there. I also pretty solid at getting to the quarterback. Assing Basie, cornerback, assessing that cornerback need, which needs help. Eno Benjamin, I've heard very good things about Eno Benjamin. Running back, I think he could be a running back 2 behind Devin Singletary, maybe a third down back type running back. Yasir Durant, interior offensive lineman, adding to that offensive line. Harris Bryant, a very solid tight end. Justin Stranad, linebacker. And then Calvin Throckmorton, offensive tackle. With the 32nd pick, the Chiefs select DeAndre Swift. I know this may be a little bit of a surprise to some of you, but I think with the 32nd pick, if DeAndre Swift falls to him, the Chiefs have to pounce. They really don't have an 100% running back 1. I think DeAndre Swift would be a definite running back 1 for this team and thrive on a team like the Chiefs. Jalen Johnson, cornerback. Very solid cornerback choice there. They need secondary help, so I think that Jalen Johnson could be a very solid starter for this team. Logan Sternberg, very solid interior offensive lineman. Their offensive line could use a little bit of help. Nick Coe, edge rusher, a pretty solid edge rusher, did good in college. And then J.R. Reed, a pretty solid safety there. The New York Giants, my football team, Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle. I really like Jedrick Wills. I think that he's just a perfect fit for this Giants team, which really needs an offensive tackle to protect the young Daniel Jones and also open gaps for Saquon Barkley. Zach Bond, edge rusher. I really like Zach Bond. I think he, again, Giants really need an edge rusher. I think Zach Bond, who's very good, actually the number 1 rated edge rusher in pass coverage. Just what the Giants need, someone who's great at rushing the quarterback, but also good in pass coverage. Marcus Bailey, a good linebacker. The Giants need a linebacker. I think Marcus Bailey has could be a potential player to fill that linebacker role. Antonio Gandy Golden, wide receiver. A lot of Giants fans love Antonio Gandy Golden out of Liberty. I really like him. I think he's that tall guy that we need. We really have shorter type wide receivers. I think Gandy Golden's that type that could just go up for balls, snatch them, has great hands. Really impressed me with what I've watched from him. Very solid player there. Terrell Burgess, safety. There are safety needs. We need a safety, and I think that Terrell Burgess could fill in that safety role. Lavert Hill, cornerback, adding to that cornerback position. And then Saquon Barkley needs a running back too, and I think that's A.J. Dillon with the 215th pick. Obviously, fell a lot because the running backs need is slim in this draft. I think he'd be in the top 160, top 170 in some other drafts. But just perfect for the Giants. A pretty solid running back to be a running back 2 or 3 on the Giants. The Patriots with the 23rd pick, Julian Okwara, edge. Julian Okwara, he's something special that you don't see coming in the draft a lot. Really unproven in college, but I think he's going to tear up this combine, be perfect for a team like the Patriots, which could use a boost on that defense like an edge rusher. Very powerful guy. He's just a beast, very versatile, great at getting to the quarterback. If you watch some highlights on Julian Okwara, you'd be very impressed. I think he's definitely going to be in the first round after this combine. Bryson Hopkins, tight end. They need a tight end. They haven't had a tight end since Rob Gronkowski, so I think Bryson Hopkins, he's big. I think he can impress some people. Jordan Elliott, interior defensive lineman, adding to that defensive line. I think Jordan Elliott's good. Devin Duvernay, sorry if I butchered that one, wide receiver. They don't have a solid wide receiver one, so hopefully he could just add some depth to that wide receiver position. Neville Clark, safety, a solid safety pick there. John Runyon, offensive tackle. Their offensive line could always use some work for whoever's back there in the future. Zach Shackelford, just adding to that offensive line. And then Brian Lewerke. Again, I don't know if Tom Brady's coming back, so same like the Saints. If Tom Brady does retire or go to a different team, they will be drafting a quarterback much higher, but we just don't know right now. The Seahawks, the 27th pick, Terrell Lewis, edge rusher. Very solid pick here. I really like Terrell Lewis. They need an edge rusher, and I think Terrell Lewis is a perfect pick there. KJ Hill. Everyone loves KJ Hill. Very speedy, quick, smaller wide receiver. I think he's a perfect option. Just could take a little pressure off of DK Metcalf, another young player who got a lot of attention, and also Tyler Lockett. Those 3 players all combined, that just such a perfect wide receiver, just 3 perfect wide receivers for a quarterback like Russell Wilson. Robert Hunt, very solid interior offensive lineman, need to protect Russell Wilson. Jack Driscoll, another offensive tackle that I think is very good. And then Thaddeus Moss, son of Randy Moss, tight end, really did very good at LSU. I think he'll be very solid for this Seahawks team. The Broncos with the 15th pick, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver. If he falls to the Broncos, that's awesome. I think he'll fit perfectly on this team. Be wide receiver 1, maybe take Cortland Sutton's place as a wide receiver 1. But I think Cortland Sutton and CeeDee Lamb are just another great 1-2 punch for a young quarterback like Drew Lock. Kenneth Murray with the 46th pick, surprisingly fell a lot from my last mock draft. Linebacker. I think linebacker is a very big need for this Broncos team. I think he's a perfect pick there. Saquid Charles, offensive tackle. Gonna have a big task in protecting young Drew Lock, who only played a few games. Amik Robertson, very solid cornerback, filling a position that's very slim on that team, on the Broncos. Jason Strowbridge, very good run stuffer. Solomon Kinley, protecting Drew Lock again, interior offensive lineman. Jerry Chin, a solid safety who did pretty good in college. DJ Wanoom, edge rusher. And then Antonio Gibson, running back. Could be a running back 2 or 3 in the future. The Colts, Jordan Love with the 13th pick. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this pick, as I did in my previous videos. I have one simple reason here, and that is a lot of teams need a quarterback in this draft. and they're going to regret it if they wait to take one. Again, we don't know what's going to happen with Tom Brady. We don't know what's going to happen with Drew Brees. So if they don't take a quarterback here, we don't know what's going to be left with the 34th pick. So I think they have to take Jordan Love here. Also, he has such high potential. I know the stats in college don't 100% prove it, but I just think that he's going to tear it up in the combine, and he's really going to impress some people and shed a new light onto what he could be. Ross Blacklock, interior defensive lineman, a very, very good interior defensive lineman, a position of need for the Colts. I think he'll be perfect there. Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, a very fast wide receiver, who I think could be a great wide receiver one for Jordan Love. Darnay Holmes, a solid cornerback option there, a position of need. Anthony Jennings, their edge rusher needs. They have a very big edge rusher need. I think that Jennings could fill that gap pretty well. Ezra Cleveland, a solid offensive tackle to protect Jordan Love. Jake Hansen, again, adding to that offensive line. Colby Parkinson, going to be a tight end too since Eric Ebron's leaving. Then Shyheim Carter, safety. The Jaguars, Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, falls to pick 9, which is just perfect for this Jaguars team. I can't see the Giants taking linebacker with an offensive tackle need. It's just opened my eyes how much they really need an offensive tackle. So I think they're going to pass on Isaiah Simmons. He's going to fall to this Jaguars team. I think that's going to be perfect. They need a linebacker. He's just great. He could play on any part of the field. We don't know where they're going to put him yet, but I think that he's just a perfect pick for any team's defense, let alone this Jaguars defense, which has been struggling. Xavier McKinney, safety, my favorite safety in this year's draft. I think he's very good, and I think the safety position is a big need for this Jaguars team, so he'll be perfect. Trayvon Diggs, cornerback. We've gone defense for these first couple picks. Trayvon Diggs, pick 42. I think that's a nice place for him. Very good cornerback in helping the secondary out for the Jaguars. Rashard Lawrence, very good run stuffer. He's a pretty big guy. Also pretty solid at getting to the quarterback. Courtney Davis, DJ Chark's going to need a wide receiver 2 on the other side of him to take some pressure off of him. Jonathan Garvin, a really solid edge rusher. Anthony Gordon, quarterback 2 or 3. We don't really know what's happening with this quarterback position yet on this Jaguars team. Very complicated. Regardless, I think they're going to be taking a quarterback in this year's draft. Limical Perine, a solid running back, and then Josiah DeGuara, just adding to that tight end depth. But all in all, I think that this Jaguars draft is a very solid draft. The Raiders, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver. They need a wide receiver. There's no questioning that. I think Jerry Jeudy's the great pick there. Whoever's at quarterback for this Raiders team, there's been speculations of Tom Brady coming to the Raiders. Regardless, any quarterback would love an option like Jerry Jeudy. He's just played out of his mind in college. He's just the perfect fit for this Raiders team. CJ Henderson, cornerback. Did very good in college. Very good at getting takeaways, going up for balls. Fearless player. Which is what any coach wants, is a fearless player. I think CJ Henderson's going to be a great addition to this Raiders team. Malik Harrison, a linebacker. Their linebacker position needs a little bit of work, so I think Malik Harrison is a good pick there. Jalen Hurts, quarterback with the 81st pick. Again, that quarterback, the quarterback position for this Raiders team has not been figured out yet, so I have them taking Jalen Hurts. Did pretty well in college. I think that he could be a good quarterback. Maybe quarterback 1, quarterback 2, definitely. Brandon Jones, safety. I really like Brandon Jones. I think will be great for this Raiders secondary, again, which needs work. Alex Highsmith, edge rusher. Their edge rusher position could use a little bit of work, so I think Highsmith could be great at getting to the quarterback on this Raiders team. And then John Simpson, adding to that offensive line. You could always use an offensive line pick in the later rounds. The Steelers, with the 49th pick, Jake Fromm, quarterback. I know, again, I'm going to get some hate for this pick here. I think that their quarterback position, as proven last season, is just not good. Although Ben Roethlisberger is going to be coming back, Jake Fromm's going to learn on the bench from a very good Hall of Fame quarterback. I think that Jake Fromm could develop on the bench and be a very good quarterback there. with the 114th pick, Alton Robinson, edge rusher. Their edge rusher position is probably one of their biggest needs there, and I think that Alton Robinson could be a big gap. He could fill a very big gap in that Steelers defense. Hunter Bryant, tight end. Their tight end position is not very good at all. I think Hunter Bryant is a good pick there. And Scott France, offensive tackle, going to protect whoever's at quarterback in the future. And then Quintez Cephas, wide receiver. That wide receiver position could use a little bit of help there. The Browns, with the 10th pick, Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle. I really like Mekhi Becton. I think he's a very, very solid offensive tackle. Very big guy, has a huge wingspan, great with his feet. Just great. He could use his big hands to his advantage. Just what Baker Mayfield needs, another reliable offensive tackle going early. With the 41st pick, they get kind of a steal with Grant Delpit, safety. Although he didn't have a very impressive end to his college campaign, I do think that he'll pan out well in the NFL. I think he's perfect since this Browns team needs a safety. I think Grant Delpit could fill that hole. Netane Muti, interior offensive lineman, very, very good interior offensive lineman. I think that he'll do a great job in protecting Baker Mayfield. Evan Weaver, linebacker, adding to that linebacker position, which needs depth there. Leki Fotu, interior defensive lineman, a good run stopper there. Harrison Hand, cornerback, adding to that secondary. And then Mike Dana, edge rusher. The Cowboys need a lot of help in that secondary position. So Christian Fulton, cornerback. I've had Christian Fulton going to the Cowboys for a couple weeks now. I think that he's just that perfect pick that the Cowboys need. Antoine Winfield Jr., a really solid safety that I think is a steal at pick 51. I really like Winfield, and I think they'll be perfect, again, for a weak secondary in the Cowboys. Von Jefferson, everyone's heard good stuff about Von Jefferson. If Amari Cooper does depart from this Cowboys team, he could be a very solid wide receiver 1 or 2. Kenny Wilkes, sorry if I butchered that one, edge rusher, adding to that depth in the edge rusher position. McTelvin Agim, interior defensive lineman, adding to that defensive line. Big run stuffer there. And then Jacob Breland, tight end. Their tight end position is unknown. Jason Witten is gone. He's old. And just adding to that depth in the tight end position. The New York Jets select Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle. I like Tristan Wirfs. He's very good on the run stopping. Needs a little bit of work in pass protection, but he's really solid in pass protection. But if you're taking him 11th, he really needs to prove himself a little bit more in the combine. But I definitely think he's a top 4, top 3 offensive tackle in this year's draft. Curtis Weaver, edge rusher. I really like Curtis Weaver. I think he's definitely a early second round option there for the Jets. I really like how he did in college, and I think that he'll thrive on this Jets team. Denzel Mims, wide receiver. I think that Denzel Mims, very solid wide receiver there. Going to be a good option for the young Sam Darnold. Jordan Brooks, linebacker, adding to that linebacker need there. Ben Bredesen, interior offensive lineman. Always can use offensive line picks, especially a position of need in protecting Sam Darnold. Adam Troutman, tight end. Their tight end position, they're going to need a tight end too. I think he's a pretty good tight end too. Miles Bryant, adding to that secondary. And then Tua Alonilua, sorry if I butchered that name, just adding to that running back, maybe a running back 2 or 3 there. The Rams with the 52nd pick select Joshua Uche, edge rusher. They need an edge rusher, that's one of their needs, so I think that Joshua Uche at pick 52, that's great value for a player like him. I think he'll thrive on a team like the Rams. Trey Adams, offensive tackle, pretty underrated offensive tackle. Again, a pretty solid pick there. Alohi Gilman, safety. Their secondary needs a little bit of work. I think that safety position could be helped out with a player like Gilman. Jared Hibbler's just another player to protect Jared Goff. And then James Lynch, a pretty solid run stopper there. With the final team, the Texans select J.K. Dobbins, running back. J.K. Dobbins, I think he just works perfectly at pick 57 with this Texans team. They really need a really quick running back. I think J.K. Dobbins is that running back. Michael Ajemudia, cornerback. Sorry if I butchered that one. Pretty solid cornerback there. I think he could be a very solid starter. Tavon Hill, edge rusher. Solid edge rusher there. Julian Blackman, just helping out that secondary. And then Khalil Davis, another run stopper. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my 7-round mock draft. Please like the mock draft as it took me so much time to make. Comment. I love to talk about the picks if you liked or disliked any of them. And of course, subscribe for more mock drafts every single week. I hope to see you all in the next video, and peace.